Pause for a moment and listen closely, because there is something you may have misunderstood about the season you are living through. You have looked at the closed doors, the empty spaces, the people who walked away, the opportunities that vanished, and the financial pressure that made you question your future. But what if the season that made you feel forgotten was actually preparing you for a level of responsibility you have never carried before? What if God allowed certain things to be taken away because He knew you could not step into your next season while still leaning on the people and systems that kept you small? You have cried in silence. You have watched others receive what you prayed for. You have wondered why your family struggled while other families seemed to move forward with ease. But hear this with conviction. Your present financial condition is not a prophecy over the rest of your life. Your history is not the ceiling of your future. God can change the direction of a family through one determined person who refuses to give up. You may be that person, not because you were born into wealth, not because everything was handed to you, not because everyone believed in you. You may become the one who changes the financial story of your family precisely because you know what it feels like to have nothing to fall back on. You know what it means to calculate every expense. You know what it feels like to want something and realize you cannot afford it. You know the embarrassment of needing help and the pain of being judged because you needed it. Those experiences hurt you, but they also taught you lessons that comfort never could. God can take the memories that once humiliated you and turn them into wisdom that guides your decisions. The struggle does not have to remain your identity. It can become your training ground. And I want you to understand something deeper. Financial freedom is not simply about having more money. If money lands in the hands of an undisciplined person, more money can create greater destruction. Wealth without wisdom can become another form of bondage. God is not merely preparing you to possess resources. He is preparing you to manage them without being controlled by them. There is a difference between becoming wealthy and becoming financially free. One can have money and still live in fear. One can have possessions and still be controlled by comparison. One can earn more and still remain trapped in impulsive decisions. True freedom begins when your relationship with money changes. When you stop using money to prove your worth, start treating it as a responsibility. Perhaps this is why the road has been slower than you expected. You wanted the result, but God was working on the person who would carry the result. You wanted the open door, but you were not yet ready for what would stand behind it. You wanted abundance right away while God was teaching you patience, restraint, discernment, courage, and consistency. You called it delay. You called it rejection. You called it being forgotten. But sometimes what feels like delay is protection from receiving something before you have the capacity to sustain it. Look at what betrayal did to you. Someone you trusted may have let you down. Someone may have taken advantage of your kindness. Someone may have laughed at your ambitions. Someone may have treated your dreams as if they were foolish. Perhaps relatives expected you to stay exactly where they knew you. Perhaps friends became uncomfortable when you started thinking differently. Perhaps people who once celebrated you became distant when they realized you were serious about changing your life. Do not let their limitations become your instructions. You do not need permission from people who have never carried your vision. But be careful here. Do not turn your pain into arrogance. Becoming financially successful does not mean proving everyone wrong. If your entire motivation is revenge, you are still financially controlled by the people who hurt you. They still occupy your mind. They still shape your emotional direction. Freedom means reaching a place where you no longer need their approval, their apology, or their recognition. You can succeed without hatred. You can rise without becoming cruel. You can build without humiliating the people who underestimated you. Let God deal with the people who misunderstood you. Your responsibility is to become disciplined enough to handle what you have been praying to receive. There may come a day when your family looks at you differently, but do not chase that day. Chase wisdom, chase integrity, chase useful skills, chase opportunities that create real value. Learn how money works. Learn how businesses operate. Learn how to save before you spend. Learn how to tell the difference between an opportunity and a temptation. Learn how to say no when everyone around you is saying yes. Learn how to delay gratification without feeling deprived. Learn how to work quietly when nobody is applauding, because the person who becomes financially free is rarely built in moments of public celebration. That person is built in private decisions nobody sees. You may be tempted to believe that one miraculous financial event will fix everything. Be careful. That expectation can make you vulnerable to false promises, reckless decisions, scams, gambling, irresponsible debt, or anyone who tells you that wealth requires no discipline. God does not need you to abandon wisdom in order to experience provision. Do not confuse desperation with faith. Faith does not mean turning off your judgment. Faith can move you forward, while wisdom tells you where to place your feet. There is a different kind of confidence that begins to grow when you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You begin asking better questions. What can I learn? What problem can I solve? What skill can I develop? What value can I create? What habit is quietly draining my future? What decision have I been putting off because I am afraid? What opportunity have I ignored because I convinced myself I was not qualified? These questions shift your direction because they move you from helplessness toward responsibility. Maybe your family has never had a financially secure person before. Maybe every generation simply survived. Someone paid one bill by borrowing for another. Someone gave up education because money was unavailable. Someone worked endlessly but never built anything lasting. Someone dreamed of owning a home but never reached it. Someone wanted to start a business but never had enough capital. Someone wanted their children to live differently but did not know how to break the cycle. You have seen these patterns. You have inherited circumstances, but you do not have to inherit every pattern. God can give you the courage to become the interruption. The first person in a family to build real financial stability often feels lonely because there is no blueprint around them. Nobody taught them what they now need to know. Nobody showed them how to manage growing income. Nobody explained investments, ownership, negotiation, entrepreneurship, budgeting, or long-term planning. That is why you must become a student. Do not be ashamed of what you do not know. Be ashamed only if pride keeps you from learning. You do not need to know everything today. You need enough humility to keep learning tomorrow. And when your income begins to grow, remember the person you used to be. Do not let a larger bank balance create a smaller heart. Do not become the person who once hurt you. If God places resources in your hands, use them with wisdom. Protect your family without enabling destructive habits. Give when you can without allowing manipulation. Help people without becoming responsible for every person who refuses to help themselves. Wealth requires boundaries because generosity without discernment can destroy the very stability you work to build. There will be moments when fear returns. You may finally have money and suddenly become terrified of losing it. You may finally have an opportunity and begin thinking you are not worthy of it. You may receive success and immediately expect disaster. That is the residue of survival. When you have lived through scarcity for a long time, abundance can feel unfamiliar. You may keep thinking something is going to go wrong. But you must learn to separate caution from fear. Caution says, prepare. Fear says, do not move. Wisdom prepares you. Fear paralyzes you. Do not let your past financial pain make you suspicious of every future possibility. You have lost before, but that does not mean you must lose again. You have been betrayed before, but that does not mean everyone is waiting to betray you. You have made mistakes before, but that does not mean every decision will be a mistake. You have experienced rejection, but rejection is not proof that God has rejected your future. Sometimes the greatest financial breakthrough begins long before the money arrives. It begins when you stop wasting your energy trying to look successful. You stop buying things to impress people who are not paying your bills. You stop competing with lifestyles you cannot afford. You stop letting social pressure dictate your spending. You stop confusing appearance with progress. You begin building quietly. You begin choosing assets over applause, knowledge over image, consistency over excitement, and long-term freedom over short-term validation. That shift may make you look unsuccessful for a while. Let it. Let people wonder why you are quieter. Let them wonder why you are not spending like them. Let them wonder why you are learning while they are entertaining themselves. Let them misunderstand the season. You do not have to explain every seed before it becomes a tree. Some things need privacy while they are being built. And if God opens a door for you, walk through it with humility and preparation. If the door closes, do not collapse. A closed door does not automatically mean failure. Sometimes it keeps you from entering a situation that would have cost you more than you could see at the time. You do not have enough information to judge every closed door right away. Trust God while continuing to act wisely. I want you to imagine the day when your family no longer has to panic over every unexpected expense. Imagine being able to help an aging parent without wrecking your own finances. Imagine being able to give a younger member of your family access to education, tools or opportunities that were unavailable to you. Imagine creating stability where there was once constant anxiety. Imagine hearing someone say, "Because you changed your life, my life became different too." That is bigger than luxury, that is legacy. But do not become obsessed with the phrase, "richest person in my family." The title means nothing if your character becomes poor. What matters is becoming the person who understands stewardship, responsibility, patience, generosity, and wisdom. Let your wealth be measured not only by what sits in your account, but by what your resources make possible. Let your success create options. Let your stability create peace. Let your knowledge create opportunities for others. There is also something you must let go of: the belief that you have to stay loyal to your old identity. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that only knew survival. You are allowed to become more disciplined. You are allowed to learn new skills. You are allowed to think bigger. You are allowed to stop repeating the financial mistakes you watched growing up. You are allowed to build a future your family has never seen. And when people tell you that you have changed, examine yourself honestly. If they mean you have become arrogant, correct yourself. If they mean you have become disciplined, do not apologize. If they mean you no longer tolerate manipulation, hold your boundaries. If they mean you no longer spend recklessly to fit in, keep your wisdom. Growth will sometimes look like betrayal to people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. You have spent enough time asking, why did this happen to me? Start asking, what can I build from what happened to me? That question does not deny your pain. It gives your pain a direction. You cannot rewrite what happened yesterday, but you can decide what yesterday will produce tomorrow. The betrayal can become discernment. The isolation can become focus. The rejection can become independence. The financial struggle can become education. The season of having little can teach you how to steward much. God sees the nights when nobody knew how worried you were. God sees the pressure behind the smile. God sees the private calculations, the unanswered questions, the moments when you wondered whether your life would ever become different. And you do not need to pretend that everything is easy. You can acknowledge the struggle without surrendering your future. Keep moving, not recklessly, not desperately, not trying to force a miracle through foolish decisions. Move with wisdom, move with discipline, move with courage, move with prayer, move with patience. Take the opportunity to learn. Take the responsibility to improve. Take ownership of what you can control. Let go of what you cannot control. Stop waiting for perfect conditions, because perfect conditions rarely arrive. The person you are becoming will have to make decisions your former self was too afraid to make. You will have to say no to things that once entertained you. You will have to disappoint people who are comfortable with your old patterns. You will have to endure seasons where the results are invisible. You will have to keep working when nobody congratulates you. You will have to believe that small, disciplined actions can eventually create a life that once seemed impossible. And one day you may look back and realize that the greatest blessing was not the money itself. It was the transformation that made you capable of handling it. You became more thoughtful, more disciplined, more patient, more discerning, more courageous. You stopped begging people to validate you. You stopped spending to impress them. You stopped letting temporary emotions control permanent decisions. You learned that peace is more valuable than appearance, and freedom is more valuable than applause. So if you are standing at the edge of a new season, do not enter it carrying the mindset that kept you trapped in the old one. Do not ask only for bigger income. Ask God for greater wisdom. Do not ask only for opportunities. Ask for discernment to recognize the right ones. Do not ask only for abundance. Ask for the character required to steward it. Do not ask only to become wealthy. Ask to become useful, responsible, generous, and strong enough that your success does not destroy you. Your family may have a history, but history is not destiny. The financial patterns you inherited can be challenged. The limitations you witnessed can be questioned. The fears that were passed from one generation to another can stop with you. You do not have to repeat everything simply because it is familiar. There is a point where survival must become construction. There is a point where dreaming must become learning. There is a point where prayer must be accompanied by disciplined action. There is a point where you stop waiting for somebody else to change your circumstances and begin faithfully working with the abilities, opportunities, and knowledge God has already placed within your reach. You may not see the full path yet. You do not need to. You only need enough light for the next faithful step. Take it. If you have been betrayed, do not become bitter. If you have been rejected, do not become smaller. If you have been misunderstood, do not abandon your purpose. If you have been financially broken, do not assume you are permanently broken. If you have been laughed at, let your discipline answer quietly. If you have been abandoned, let God teach you how to stand without begging people people to stay. And when the door opens, remember the years when you prayed for one. Walk through it with humility. Build something that lasts. Build something that does not collapse because of one bad month. Build something your family can learn from. Build something that gives the next generation a starting point you never had. Let your story become proof that a difficult beginning does not require a tragic ending. The day may come when you realize you are no longer simply trying to survive until payday. You are building reserves. You are creating options. You are making decisions from wisdom instead of panic. You are helping your family from strength instead of desperation. You are no longer asking, "How will I make it?" You are asking, "How can I steward what God has placed in my hands?" That is a different life. And if God allows you to become the wealthiest person your family has ever known, let that wealth carry responsibility, not pride. Let it create stability. Let it become a tool for good, not an idol. Let your success make you more grateful, not more distant. Let your abundance remind you of the days when you had almost nothing. Because perhaps the greatest victory will not be the moment you finally have more money than everyone in your family. Perhaps it will be the moment you realize that money no longer controls your identity. You are no longer desperate for approval. You are no longer terrified of scarcity. You are no longer trapped by the patterns you inherited. You are no longer waiting for someone to rescue you. You have learned. You have grown. You have endured. You have become responsible. And now, with God guiding your steps, you are building a future that once existed only as a desperate prayer in your heart. So stand up inside yourself. The betrayal did not finish you. The rejection did not define you. The isolation did not erase your purpose. The financial struggle did not write the final chapter. You are still here. And while you are still here, there is still work to do, wisdom to gain, opportunities to recognize, decisions to make, and a future to build. Do not spend another year mourning the life you did not receive. Build the life you are now prepared to carry. Let God strengthen your judgment, discipline your desires, sharpen your vision, and guide your decisions. Let the pain that once made you question your future become the reason you refuse to waste it. And when the financial freedom you prayed for finally stands within reach, do not forget who you became while waiting for it. Remember the person who had almost nothing but kept believing. Remember the nights nobody saw. Remember the doors that closed. Remember the people who walked away. Remember the moments you thought you would never escape. Then look at what God helped you become. Not merely richer, but wiser, stronger, freer, more responsible, more capable, more generous, more grounded. And when your family sees the change, let your life speak louder than your words. Let them see that one person can break a pattern. Let them see that one person can learn what nobody taught them. Let them see that one person can refuse to surrender to inherited limitations. Let them see that financial freedom is not just about having money. It is about having the wisdom, discipline, courage, and freedom to use your life differently. Your story is not finished. Your family story is not finished. And the season ahead does not have to look like the season behind you. Keep walking, keep learning, keep building, keep trusting God. Because the person who once prayed simply to survive may be becoming the person who gives an entire family permission to dream again. And now, before you move forward, remember this. You were never meant to spend your entire life running from financial fear. There is a difference between surviving a difficult season and becoming permanently defined by it. You have known what it means to struggle, to be overlooked, to count every expense, to watch others move ahead while you wondered when your own door would open. But your past does not have the authority to dictate what God can build through your future. Do not allow the people who doubted you to become the voice you carry inside your own mind. They may have seen your limitations, but they did not see everything God placed within you. They saw where you started. They did not see where you could end up. They judged the seed before it became a tree. You do not need to argue with them. You do not need to announce your plans. Build quietly. Learn relentlessly. Work faithfully. Let your transformation become undeniable. If God gives you financial increase, receive it with humility and manage it with wisdom. Do not become intoxicated by money. Do not spend your future trying to prove that you finally made it. Remember the years when you wanted what you could not afford. Remember the pressure. Remember the prayers. Let those memories keep your heart grounded. Your breakthrough may not arrive in the dramatic way you imagined. It may begin with one skill, one disciplined decision, one opportunity, one connection, one business idea, one new habit, or one courageous step that seems small at first. Do not despise small beginnings. A changed financial future can begin with a decision nobody else even notices. And when fear whispers, "What if you fail?" answer with action. When your past says, "You have always struggled," answer with discipline. When people say, "People like us never become wealthy," answer by learning what they never learned. When disappointment says nothing will ever change, remember that circumstances can change when your knowledge, decisions, habits, and opportunities change. You are not required to become the richest person in your family to prove your worth. Your worth was never determined by your bank account. But if God places greater resources in your hands, let those resources become a blessing rather than a burden. Let them create stability where there was anxiety, opportunity where there was limitation, education where there was ignorance, and hope where generations only knew survival. One day someone younger may look at your life and realize that their future does not have to repeat their past. They may study because you created the opportunity. They may build because you showed them how. They may save because they watch you practice discipline. They may dream because your life proved that the family story could change. That is the kind of wealth that cannot be measured by a number. So walk forward without desperation. Do not chase money as though it is your God. Let God remain at the center while you pursue wisdom, work, opportunity, discipline, and responsible stewardship. Ask God to protect you from foolish opportunities, dishonest people, impulsive decisions, and pride. Ask for clarity when choices become complicated. Ask for strength when progress becomes slow. The people who abandoned you do not get to determine your destination. The betrayal does not get the final word. The financial struggle does not get the final word. The rejection does not get the final word. God does. And if God is still giving you breath, there is still something you can build. So rise from the mentality of survival. Stop telling yourself that you are permanently behind. Stop measuring your beginning against somebody else's middle. Stop allowing temporary circumstances to become permanent beliefs. Build patiently, build wisely, build with integrity, build with God. And when the day comes that financial freedom is no longer something you only prayed about, but something you are responsibly living, remember where you came from. Do not become distant from the person who struggled. Honor that person by becoming disciplined enough to never willingly return to the same patterns. You may become the person who changes the financial direction of your entire family. You may become the first to create lasting stability. You may become the one who turns inherited limitation into learned wisdom, and learned wisdom into lasting freedom. But the real victory will be deeper than wealth. It will be waking up one morning and realizing that fear no longer controls every financial decision. It will be knowing that you can face an unexpected expense without your entire world collapsing. It will be having enough stability to help without destroying yourself. It will be having enough wisdom to say no, enough courage to say yes, enough discipline to wait, enough faith to keep walking, and enough humility to remember that every blessing carries responsibility. So do not give up now. The chapter that exhausted you is not necessarily the chapter that defines you. The season that broke your confidence can become the season that teaches you endurance. The years that seemed wasted can become the foundation of wisdom you carry into the future. Keep your heart steady. Keep your mind teachable. Keep your hands working. Keep your decisions disciplined. Keep God at the center, and keep moving toward the future you once thought was impossible. Because your family does not need another generation that simply survives. Someone has to believe that something different is possible. Someone has to learn. Someone has to build. Someone has to break the pattern. Let that person be you. And when you finally stand in the freedom you once begged God for, look back without shame and say, I remember when I had almost nothing. I remember when nobody understood. I remember when I was afraid. But God carried me through every season, taught me through every loss, strengthened me through every disappointment, and gave me the wisdom to build what I once only dreamed about. Then keep building, not for applause, not for revenge, not to make your enemies jealous. Build because your life has purpose. Build because your family deserves a different possibility. Build because the next generation deserves a. Build because financial freedom can become a tool for peace, responsibility, generosity, and meaningful impact. And above everything else, never forget, money can change your circumstances, but only wisdom can keep you free. Walk into your future with that understanding. The door is not opened by desperation. It is approached through preparation. And as you prepare, trust God, keep learning, keep working, and refuse to surrender your future to the pain of your past. Your story is still being written. Your family story is still being written. And the person you are becoming may be the very person God uses to change everything. And maybe today you cannot see how everything will come together. Maybe the numbers still do not make sense. Maybe your responsibilities are greater than your income. Maybe you are carrying dreams that seem too large for the resources currently in your hands. But do not make the mistake of judging your entire future by the evidence of one difficult season. A seed does not look like a forest. A beginning does not reveal the full destination. You have been through moments that could have made you bitter, but God can use those moments to make you wiser. You have experienced disappointment that could have made you stop trusting your own ability, but God can use it to teach you discernment. You have been overlooked, but being overlooked does not mean being unprepared. Sometimes the quiet season is where the strongest foundation is built. There will be a day when the decisions you are making today begin producing visible results. The habits nobody noticed will become stability. The skills nobody applauded will become income. The sacrifices nobody understood will create opportunities. The discipline that felt uncomfortable will eventually give you choices that desperation could never provide. Do not rush the process because you are tired of waiting. Rushing can make you trade a lasting future for temporary relief. Be patient enough to build correctly. If you need to learn, learn. If you need to save, save. If you need to start small, start small. If you need to change your environment, change it wisely. If you need to walk away from distractions, walk away. Your future deserves more protection than your present emotions. And when God begins opening unexpected doors, remember that not every open door is your door. You will need discernment. Some opportunities will look